Hi, everybody. Monica Guzman coming to you live. Still figuring out, getting everything connected, making sure all the software is syncing up with each other. So, we're coming off of the 20th anniversary of 9/11. Definitely a somber day in American history. Hopefully, it seems like a lot of people did spend some time remembering where they were. And although it's not the brightest moment in American history, it's something that we have to do in order to keep the memory of the incident alive. We have to talk to our kids about these things. And we have to rely on ourselves, right? We have to, if we want to make something happen, we have to rely on ourselves to make it happen. Like, again, I'm so impressed by what Scott Presler's doing. He's not talking about it, he's being about it. And that is definitely, it's not exactly the Ben Franklin model, but it's definitely helping people organize themselves in a manner that aligns with what Ben Franklin did when he set up the first American fire department in Philadelphia. And then from there, a lot of great things came out of it, such as mutual insurance, life insurance, and then people realizing that they needed to be responsible for their neighborhoods and their communities. It's such a wonderful thing. So I think what Scott Presler's doing is amazing. I just think what he's doing is amazing. I would pick him over several of our so-called right-wing influencers, again, because he's being about it as opposed to just talking about it. The American right, we've seen just in the last 5 years, we've seen a lot of grifters and a lot of people that know that where the money's at is on the American right, therefore they take advantage of it. And so I shout out to Inside Edition. I believe her name escapes my mind, but she's been with Inside Edition forever. Shout out to them, especially if she's still there. They did a great thing on a firefighter father who's retired, who lost his firefighter son in the aftermath of 9/11 at the towers. And so shout out to him also for helping someone like myself explain 9/11 to my kid, not because I'm afraid of traumatizing my kid, but because not having exactly lived it, and then in addition to the people I was around, again, one of my roommates wasn't an American, so he reacted to 9/11 in a non-American manner. And so my other roommates, we were all kind of like, what the fuck is going on? I mean, seriously. And at that time I was becoming an adult. And so I was young. I mean, college forced me to grow up really fast, but I have a story for everything. My experiences are insane. And when I got back from college, in my case, it was like being 18 years old all over again. And so I was going through a weird time in my life. And so I was on the West Coast, and the people I was around, again, we were all kind of like, what the fuck is going on? And we're watching this on TV, but at the same time, we're running out the door because we're going about our business, our daily life, right? And so for me, the emotions of 9/11 are just different. They're different. And so I'm glad that Inside Edition did their segment and then they tweeted about it. And that's part of the era that we live in, is sometimes you don't catch things live. You rely on someone tweeting out the video, or you rely on catching it on replay, or it's just, we don't live in the moment anymore. We know that we can rely on the repeat or the replay, or someone's going to tweet it out. So we're living in a weird time. But again, I'm glad that Inside Edition did that segment on that man who lost his son, who's taken it upon himself to help our youth understand 9/11. And then again, it just keeps it going. We know, right? As Americans, we know that the government ruling over us isn't American. They don't have American interests at heart, and it's illegitimate, and we have to figure stuff out on our own. And then on top of that, we can't just talk about it. We have to be about it. I am in the talking phase of everything, but it's going to lead up to me being about it. In a few months, I'm getting... So, I have to share a lot of stuff about myself to give myself credibility. Plus, I'm character ethic as opposed to personality ethic. And so when I finally decided I'm going to the doctor, I need to get checked out. Based on everything, again, I'm healthy. Even my woman's thing isn't life-threatening. I'm still here. I feel great. I don't have any more common diseases either. I'm healthy. Everything's benign. But it's one of those things where medicine takes no risks anymore. If they find an inkling of something, they want to keep going with their tests. I can tell you what I have. I inherited from my mom. Now, during her times, they took care of it in one manner, and I spoke with my doctor, and she let me know, look, they treat something like this differently than they did at least 20 years ago. And so, I mean, I don't even know, because you've got the African community claiming that the medical community doesn't take care of them. And so it's just, but I guess it's, that attitude is part of what the African community is trying to accomplish on American soil with the backing of the Jewish community, is they're just trying to flip the table over. They're trying to turn the table over. They're trying to act as if they founded America, when sound-minded Americans know very well that that's not the case. I mean, Africans are going as far as claiming that they're the first Europeans, which is utterly false. Paul Joseph Watson had a series of tweets on that, and I hope he, instead of encouraging the youth to club and all that stuff, participate in hedonism and degeneracy, I hope he'll take some time to, since he's there, right? He's English. He's there to push back on those kinds of narratives being forced upon England, the English, and some Europeans. Everybody has to do their part. This is my part. The intersection of American history and American baseball history. And so for at least the next 2 weeks consecutively, I will be talking about the cultural differences between American baseball and MLB, the main change is just the leadership, right? MLB is led by Jews. They promote Africans and Dominicans, whereas American baseball was led by Americans. Ty Cobb, Honus Wagner, Albert Goodwill Spalding, Babe Ruth, Cy Young, Walter Johnson, Joe DiMaggio. I can't remember the name of the Yankees owner who brought so much pride to New York, helped acquire Babe Ruth, and Babe Ruth put the Yankees on the map. So next 2 weeks I will be laying down the groundwork for the Hall of Fame ballots for this year, what is it? So is it 2021, 2022? But I guess it would be the Hall of Fame class of 2022. And again, I'm laying down the groundwork, outlining the differences between how MLB defines greatness as opposed to how greatness was defined during the American baseball era. And so there's a lot, I have a tendency to attempt to tie a lot of things together at the same time. And I know I need to stop doing that because it seems like people want one coherent thought per stream. And I'm going to do my best to do that. So today I'm going to give an overview. I'm going to show you a couple of charts that I put together. And then I'm going to tie in, you'll hear me tying in a lot of American culture stuff. And VDare published an article. I don't know if he published it yesterday, but I saw it yesterday. And it's asking Americans to wake up. And obviously in that case, he's asking white Americans to wake up. Ramsey Paul, so I'm doing my best to watch Ramsey Paul streams. Obviously there's eventually I'm going to find something that I really, really disagree with. But for the most part, I feel like Ramsey Paul is pretty solid. Again, I feel like Scott Presler is solid. And I want to put stock into Scott Greer, but we'll see how that turns out. And again, you've got to understand my position. I've watched several so-called right-wing influencers turn out to just be left-wingers in right-wing clothing, right? Like, you know that where the passion and the money, the patriotism, it lies on the right. And so there's a lot of fake grifter and fakeness and grifters that gear our way because, again, they know that we're looking for leaders. We're searching for leaders. We're searching for our Ben Franklins and our Thomas Jeffersons and our George Washingtons and our Abraham Lincolns. In my case, I'm searching for the next Albert Goodwin Spalding, and I'm searching for the next Ty Cobb and Babe Ruth and Honus Wagner, Walter Johnson, Cy Young, Joe DiMaggio, right? Like a lot of these guys. And, you know, as I pointed out last week, I'm even looking for, I know there are no mad bumps on MLB's horizon. So I know that they're out there. MLB's just not going to recruit them or nurture them. I mean, we see what's happening with Cody Bellinger. It's so tragic what he got himself involved in. I mean, he's going to have a lot of trouble moving forward. Is he going to marry this girl? How's he going to raise his baby? I mean, if it's a son, God willing, it's a son. But I hope Cody's family takes an active participation role in raising this child, especially if it's a son. But I mean, this girl was, I mean, from my understanding, she was basically whoring herself around MLB players. That's a lot of trouble for Cody. And then I don't know what's going to happen with Cody's free agency and stuff, but he could turn out to be another Matt Kemp, where a baseball player that should have shown could be pushed to the wayside. Another victim of your Andrew Friedman, Stan Kasten, HIV Magic Johnson reign over the Dodgers, which is tragic. I mean, they've tried to push Corey Seager to the side too. I don't know what kind of deal Corey Seager made to be able to be given the opportunity to win the MVP and to have a great year. But let's not forget that Andrew Friedman and company broke Corey Seager. Corey Seager has had a few surgeries now, including Tommy John. He's not even a pitcher, and he underwent Tommy John. That's not okay. Especially Corey Seager, somebody, I believe both Corey Seager and Cody Bellinger were acquired by Ned. So that's what I'm saying. Like, Ned did such an outstanding job putting together a great LA Dodger team. And obviously the ownership of the team didn't like Ned's style. Therefore, they got rid of him. They got rid of a lot of stuff that he put together. Absolutely, Ned could have brought home a true, legitimate, valid championship to the LA Dodgers. He was this close to getting it, but then Joe Kelly broke Hanley Ramirez's rib, and that postseason unfortunately went down tragically. And that, again, so that shows the Joe Kelly stuff shows what Andrew Friedman is doing. He's highlighting the low IQ-ness of the fans that saw the Ned Colletti era and are sticking around with Andrew Friedman. He's demonstrating in your face your low IQ-ness that Joe Kelly broke Hanley Ramirez's rib and ended the Dodgers' hopes of becoming champions that season. Andrew Friedman recruits him, and all of a sudden you guys are cheering for him. I mean, that's very low IQ. That's very stupid. It's very low IQ. And so, but that's what Friedman has done, is high IQ people have left their fandom behind, including myself, and he's basically going after low IQ fans that are willing to cheer for a Julio Urias, who also has undergone his fair share of surgeries. He's tatted up. His eyesight thing, again, it falls into what the current regime ruling over Americans, the current regime ruling over MLB, the current regime ruling over what used to be the LA Dodgers. Everything that they're doing coincides with each other. It's all the same thing. It's this thing of, again, I have this specific chart up right now to start, because for 300 years, almost 300 years, Americans thrived. The weak fell off, and one of the stupid things going around right now, and the person leading it is the person's name who I'm not going to mention just yet, but he's Jewish. He's Jewish. So when you hear somebody tell you, oh, it's okay to be fat. Oh, it's okay to be ugly. Make yourself ugly. People who are telling you those kinds of things do not have your best interest in mind. And most of the time, they're not even going to be Americans, because the same people telling you to be fat and to be ugly and to be unhealthy turn around and amongst their own people take pride in the fact that their own people are winning, are beautiful, are talented, and it's just an effort to destroy the American, because the American spent 300 years getting to themselves to a point where they've won how many gold medals at the Olympics? I mean, the world envies the American, and some cultures envy the American far more than others. And it starts with the Jews. And so this guy who right now wants to get American men to become victims is Jewish. Plus, he's got some really weird health issues. So this is a Jewish nerd who obviously wants to gather his fellow nerds. So you guys can band together. And okay, that's fine. But that is more reason to band together the males with alpha potential and help them become the alphas that we need for this country. And again, that's the exact same thing I hope to accomplish in Mexico. There's youth over there smoking their brains out too and bragging about it on social media. So obviously that youth, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to push them to the side. I'm going to find the young Mexicans who understand alphaness, who understand it, who want to be it, and then nurture them. We have to nurture those with alpha potential. We have to give them the opportunity to become what they're supposed to be. And so let me bring in an example. So when the whole thing about Mexico, the start of the legalization of abortion, and the earthquake. So that night I went to sleep and I woke up a few hours later and I was still thinking about it, and I decided to tweet some facts. And then I measure my opinions. I don't temper them, but I take the temperature of others, and sometimes you have to see what other people are saying, including those who don't agree with you. And so one of the things I found was a post, and I can't pronounce this name of this. So it wasn't Indians residing in Mexico per se, right? The Aztecs weren't Indians. They were native to the soil before it became Mexico. Thank you to the Spanish conquistadors. So this post states, in Tenochtitlan, induced abortion was considered as a serious crime. For this reason, abortive practices were punished with the death penalty, not only for the user, but also for the healer who induced it. According to Maria de Jesus Rodriguez, women were taught that their most important role in life was maternity. They were made to believe that the gods had created them to birth warriors to enhance the lordship. Therefore, sterility was seen as a divine punishment. Now, a lot of this is a stream for another day, but we can very much say that the role of a woman is to birth warriors. So abortion is the Jewish value. You've got some nerd Jew going around riling up men and saying, hey man, you're a fucking victim. Join me. And it's very pathetic, but that's what happens, right? For example, what's happened with the vaccine? What did the regime ruling over Americans do? They engineered a majority. So they went around and they got the people they knew would take the vaccine, no questions asked. And then they measured the pushback. right? And so they started inducing people to get the vaccine by offering free stuff. But they realized that the pushback was still too great. It didn't give them a majority. So now they're forcing people to get the vaccine by threatening their livelihood. And it's very difficult to look at a person who's earning minimum wage, who has no skills, to vertically get another job, because they work the types of jobs that corporations offer. So if one corporation is mandating the vaccine, then obviously their competitor is probably going to mandate the vaccine too. So this person cannot vertically move in order to continue earning an income. So they're engineering a majority. And so nerds don't want to die off, right? Especially Jewish nerds, which is where the nerdum comes from. They don't want to die off. They want the nanny state. They want the nanny state to protect them against their weaknesses. And that's why I shift my opinion on like Scott Adams. I haven't landed on something yet, because he provides value, but at the same time, he's an old man who's sick. He is all in on the legalization of drugs. He's all in on the legalization of psychedelics, not because he cares about veterans per se. He cares about keeping himself alive. I don't know what it is that he has, but he has something that requires, it has to be a chronic condition, because he requires medicine. I believe that's one of the reasons why he's pro legalization of pot, for example. Damn what it does to society, but he wants to stay alive. And that's the problem. That's exactly the problem with the weakest among us. That's exactly the problem with the nerds among us. They're not going to promote or help nurture the push-up guy, because they're not the push-up guy. And so that's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. And so, guys, you need to remember that you are born to be warriors. And I continue to believe that American nationalists, you've got to get out of the military. There's nothing good for you on the horizon if you stay in it. But here's the thing, your skills don't go to waste. Everything you've learned up to this point, everything you've trained for up to this point, use it to protect your household. Use it to protect your family. If you don't have a family yet, then your job is to find your spouse. And then your job is to have children. And hopefully you will be blessed with sons. And I say the same thing for teachers that have retired too soon, for doctors that have retired too soon, for other people of skills that we need. If you retire too soon, that does not mean that your skills aren't needed. You're just going to use them in a different manner. And yes, you're going to earn far, far less with them. You're not going to receive benefits. Teaching the children in your immediate neighborhood, you're not going to receive benefits. You're not going to receive benefits caring for the sick in your neighborhood. You're not. And so these are the kinds of things that we all need to make peace with. We need to make our income as untaxable as possible. And so that's how we it's how we move forward. We push forward. And so I've gone way off on a huge tangent. So let me bring myself back to the chart that you can see. For almost 300 years, yes, there were no nerds. The nerds fell off. They died off. They didn't survive the Wild Wild West. They didn't survive the New England winters. they caught pneumonia, the weakest among us die. And I'm not going to apologize for believing that the weakest among us need to fall off, because the strongest among us require our resources and our nurturing. I don't have the book with me, but I'm going to reread. I'll reread it tomorrow. That the reason why we can walk and chew gum at the same time in 2021 is because the first man died off, which allowed the smarter man to be born after him. And then there was yet still another smarter, more intelligent man born after him. So, I mean, it sucks. It's gotta suck to be born weak. It's gotta suck to be born short as a male. It's gotta suck. But the wiliest among you, I mean, look at Yogi Berra. Yogi Berra managed 10 championships. And we all know that Yogi Berra was not the tallest, but somehow he figured it out. Somehow he was the backstop. I mean, wow. I'm not even going to put Johnny Bench on the same platform as Yogi Berra, but if you want a second place, it's Yogi Berra. I mean, it's Johnny Bench to Yogi Berra. And so, yeah. So again, for the next 2 weeks consecutively, I will be speaking about the way greatness in American baseball was defined as opposed to how MLB defines it. I mean, it's so stupid. Like, I didn't catch the Fox baseball game in its entirety, but I caught portions of it, and I happened to catch the part where someone was making a case for Derek Jeter's entry into the Hall of Fame, and it was very difficult for this man to do it. Derek Jeter was never the best at anything. The only reasons why Derek Jeter was inducted is first and foremost because he identifies as African, and second, he had the power of the New York media behind him. Even if he had played for the LA Dodgers, there's no way he would have survived LA. Matt Kemp would have crushed Derek Jeter's so-called greatness. So whatever. But so, and then I'm going to tweet this out. I need it to be out there. So I brought up that maybe Yadier Molina is a Hall of Famer. And as soon as I did that, within 24 hours, there are people tweeting out and talking about, well, you know who else is a Hall of Famer? The dude for the Kansas City Royals. And he's obviously not. So again, what they're doing is compiling years. If they manage to play for X amount of time, then somehow the MLB Marxist media is obligated to vote them in just on that alone. And I'm going to crush that. Because, again, then it turns into a game of last man standing. So when Babe Ruth, Honus Wagner, Ty Cobb, Walter Johnson, Christy Mathewson were playing, there was no Hall of Fame yet. So logically, they are not compilers. Ty Cobb was always trying to be the best. He had the hugest chip on his shoulder, rightly so. So Ty Cobb is the closest to compiling during that era. I don't even think Joe DiMaggio was compiling anything. I think Joe DiMaggio was just naturally great. Was he born to play baseball? I'm not sure. I haven't looked into that side of his career. But they weren't compiling in those days. They weren't compiling. So the fact that they played for 22 seasons, Christy Mathewson played the least amount, they weren't compiling anything. That's why the game was in its purest form at that time. I don't think Mickey Mantle was compiling to get into the Hall of Fame. I think he was just a rough and tumble guy that he was a rough and tumble guy. I mean, maybe he was his era's Mike King Kelly, right? Like it sounds like he was that boisterous type of guy. But I'm not looking for Mickey Mantles. I can tell you that. I'm not looking for Mickey Mantles. Okay, so let me go back again one more time. And I do want to say that I started late today, and I apologize for that. My intention is to come on at 8 in the morning Pacific Standard Time every day, Monday through Friday for at least the following 2 weeks. And so I'm figuring out my routine. I'm exercising again. I've lost a lot of weight. I've basically been losing a pound a week for a while, and my doctor told me to make sure to chill and not overdo it, but I have a goal weight in mind. At least before, so I have jeans older than my kid, and I fit into most of them. I have one pair that I want to fit into because it was expensive, and I still have them. And then I have a second pair that when I was at my thinnest, I fit into. I don't think I can go back to that because that's obviously pre-baby. And then it's obviously even just maturing into a woman's body. If any of you have seen me in person, I have a Mexican body. And growing up, even in high school, I was very hourglassy. Very hourglassy. And it's a little embarrassing because it gets a lot of attention. And so I stay away from wearing tight-fitting clothing because it's just very hourglassy. But so I'm figuring out my routine, and I'm not sure if I'm going to exercise before this, but then if you exercise, you've got to clean up, and then I started eating breakfast again. So there's a lot, and I'm going to save a lot of this stuff from my Women Health Wednesday stuff. But again, I'm giving myself credibility by sharing these things with you so you guys know that I'm legit. The reason why I stopped eating breakfast was because I didn't know if I was diabetic. And so my breakfast before consisted of a lot of fruit and either oatmeal or yogurt. And when I realized something, I did not go to the doctor. And honestly, if I had gone to the doctor at that time, they would have said, oh, it's nothing. I'm 100% sure of it. And so I had to develop additional symptoms in order to be taken seriously. And because again, I'm fine. Everything's fine health-wise for me. It's just that, especially now, the medical field in some cases is far more careful. In my case, I'm lucky that I have doctors treating me that take it seriously and take their patients' health seriously. Now, I do believe there's two sides to that coin. But I'm still very grateful and thankful that God has walked me in certain directions and toward people that care about my health, and they've taken several pints of blood at this point, and they've tested a lot of things under the sun, and 95% of it has come out clean. So I'm very thankful for that. And I did these tangents, I apologize. So I'm trying to figure out my routine. I started exercising because now that I've lost a significant amount of weight, I do want to start exercising, because now I've reached the point where it's time to start toning. And so, and then maybe I'm coming up on the plateau, and I don't want to plateau given the great job that I've done. I'm so awesome. And yeah, you'll notice that about me. I think I'm perfect. And I joke around with my dad that it's the Guzman thing. And because I can tell you that we're like that. It's not in anybody's, we're not going to throw it in people's faces, but we feel pretty good about ourselves. And it's definitely the Guzman genes. And I think I'm pretty awesome. And I think my imperfections make me perfect anyway. And so I think highly of myself, unapologetically. And so yeah. So I'm figuring out my routine. I should be on tomorrow, 8 in the morning. You can rely on me to become consistent, and we'll all go from there. So let's start rewinding a little bit. And you can see my microphone. You can see my microphone. I know, I'm sorry. I keep playing with my hair. Apologies. It's just, me gusta andar de pelo suelto, you guys. Right? Sorry, I shouldn't have done that. Will that get a strike? If I ever get on YouTube's radar, will that get a strike? I'll sing it to myself. How about that? Okay, so let's rewind a little bit. For 300 years, the American perfected themselves too, their culture. Every man who came during those 300 years contributed something, okay? Let's not fall into victimhood, guys. That's a Jewish thing. It's a nerd thing. It's a weakling thing. Every man contributed something to America during those 300 years between the Pilgrims landing and before World War I hit. Every single man contributed something. Obviously, we can't remember every single man. And I think that's what some of these weaklings, that's their problem, is that they want to be remembered the way that we're going to remember Clint Eastwood, Al Pacino, Tom Brady, maybe Gronk. They're envious. But the thing is, and this falls into the Hall of Fame stuff too. Everybody isn't destined to be remembered the way we remember Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, Christy Mathewson, Walter Johnson, Cy Young, Honus Wagner, the way we're going to remember Greinke, Mad Bum, the way we're going to remember Curt Schilling and Randy Johnson. Every man isn't destined to be remembered that way. Your role in life is different. If you want to be remembered, find your spouse, have some kids, and then allow your kids to be the ones who remember you. As a woman, I don't have the expectations to be remembered as greatness. If future generations come across my writings and somehow these videos, outstanding. But as a woman, I know that that's not my lot in life. My lot in life was to give birth to a warrior, and I feel like my lot in life is to help males with alpha potential reach it. And so even my name, right? Like if you believe in stuff like that, my name, Monica, means teacher. Like, really? And then I don't want to get into this, but if you believe in astrology, I fall into that too. I fall into the cusp. And I believe that's one of the reasons why I'm so like, I mean, even my birth year falls into the cusp between Gen X and the millennial generation. So I think that's one of the reasons why I'm able to walk the line between defending America and defending Mexico. I just have that ability based on several factors. And maybe God meant it this way. God blessed it this way. And who am I? I tried to go against it. I tried to go against God's blessings for me. And here I am anyways, doing all this stuff. And so it is what it is. So once again, going back to this specific chart, Americans, it took Americans 300 years to become great. And every single man on that 300-year journey did contribute something. We can't remember every single guy. That's up to your family to remember you. It's not my burden to remember the weakest among us, and I don't plan to either. It's your family's duty to do that, not everybody else's. So don't become Jewish weak nerds. It's stupid. So let's jump into another chart. 2 weeks, I am outlining the cultural differences between MLB and American baseball. In addition, I am outlining the true Hall of Famers. I'm differentiating what gets inducted to the Hall of Fame in 2021 against what the standard that was set with the first Hall of Fame class and a couple guys after it. My magnum opus so far, because it will not be the last, is this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful chart. So last year during the lockdowns, I used my time wisely. And one of the things I sought to understand was, is every champion a Hall of Famer? And the answer is no. So Yogi Berra, the backstop, the greatest catcher ever, he managed to accrue 10 championships. 10 championships. Then you've got Joe DiMaggio with 9. Bill Dickey, Frank Corsetti, Phil Rizzuto, Lou Gehrig with 8. And then you've got Babe Ruth, Tommy Henrik, Hank Bauer, Mickey Mantle with 7. So, and then you've got, I saw Herb Hancock's, the fact that he's in the Hall of Fame get tweeted out by somebody from the MLB Marxist media. But also, let me point out that Herb, I need to pull that up on my side. I'm working off of not the biggest screen, so I've got to pull it up over here. So Herb Hancock didn't get in until the 8th ballot. So we've got there's a lot in here, and I plan to go to it to really start hitting some stuff home. There's no reason for the MLB Marxist media to vote on the Hall of Fame annually. There's nowhere near enough talent to be spread out in that manner. Another suggestion that I'm going to make is they start going with yes or no. So, you know, there are some people who are trying to get me to start giving my opinions on the guys who will potentially be on the Hall of Fame ballot for the 2022 class, and I'm going to wait it out. I'm going to make you wait. How about that? I'm going to make you wait for my opinion. Not just because I can, but because I don't want to give the MLB Marxist media a running start. I want to make sure that when they start making their excuses, they didn't have 3 months or whatever to plan for it. I want it to be more spur of the moment. And then I want to crush their excuses for voting in more mediocrity into the hall where Babe Ruth resides. So this so far is my magnum opus. So far, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to have I put the screen on a different side, so now I have to figure out how I want to sit. I know. So weird, right? I swear I'm not a narcissist. I don't look at myself in the mirror all day long. I barely look at myself in the mirror when I'm grooming and all that. That looks good, right? Okay, so is every champion a Hall of Famer? The answer is no. And when I put this together and I started commenting on it, I didn't realize that some of these guys who have 7 championships are the original platoon guys. And that's why their statistics are nowhere near as great as they are in Babe Ruth's case, Ty Cobb's case, Honus Wagner's case. They are the original platoon guys. So they were just writing the coattails of the actual baseball players, which at that time were like Joe DiMaggio. Let's see. They played 1937 through 1942 and 1946 through 50. The other one played 1948 through 1961. So they were writing the coattails of Joe DiMaggio and Yogi Berra, right? Because Yogi Berra played in 2,120 games. He had 7,555 at-bats. He ended up with a batting average of 285. He managed 2,150 hits. He hit 358 home runs. He garnered 1,430 RBIs. He stole 30 bases, and he struck out 414 times. So the platoon guys were writing the coattails of other people to their championships. And something that I pointed out when I first tweeted this out is, look, okay, they didn't get into the Hall of Fame, but I'm sure 7 championships kept them very toasty at night. I mean, you can sleep with your rings, right? Like, I'm sure it was fine. I mean, we all saw the picture of Tom Brady with his 7 rings. That is a lot of bling. I mean, and Tom Brady is huge, right? Like, it doesn't cease to blow my mind to see when I see Tom Brady standing like next to Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers, like how tall he is and how short he makes everybody else look. Tom Brady's huge. He's a lanky guy. It looks like he put a little bit more weight on himself, but I guess that's also a result of the surgery and him not even to be like he wasn't able to really exercise, right? And If it doesn't slow him down, the extra weight is okay. Another fun video that I saw of Tom Brady from the first game is he had to play protection on something. Oh, it must have been on a turnover, right? Tom Brady took a hit from the other team's, from the Cowboys defense, and boom, like, you've got to, I mean, we all have to be able to take a hit, right? Women too, you don't know, right? You never know. You never know. We live in different times. And so this is what I call the cross-check test. This is a culmination of me reviewing pre-integration American Baseball Hall of Fame inductees. And so there's 1947, but then there's also the year that Jackie Robinson got inducted, because somebody got in on the 15th ballot, and somebody from MLB brought up that, oh, well, if such and such got in on the 15th ballot, well, he got in on the 15th ballot, first of all. Second of all, I wonder how many of those guys were inducted because they saw Jackie Robinson on the horizon, and they said, you know, I'm pretty sure that they were thinking this too. They were thinking this is turning the table where there's going to be people making cases for the African players, and there's going to be less people making cases for the American players. And we see that. Why isn't Curt Schilling in the Hall of Fame yet? He should have got in. He should have gone in by his third year of eligibility at the most. He should be in there by now. I'm not sure if Curt Schilling's eligibility coincided with Pedro Martinez's eligibility years, but he should have got in the year Pedro got in. And I will prove that. And I will enjoy you guys crying about it. I will. You should know this. So what's the standard for greatness when it comes to the American Baseball Hall of Fame? It's right here. The Professional Baseball Hall of Fame first 5 title totals. You can see that even though Ty Cobb never became a champion, Ty Cobb garnered a triple crown. He was the 12-time batting champion. He won the home run championship title. I go back and forth. These are titles. These are titles. So I will update this to reflect that. But these are titles. So he garnered the home run title once. He was a 4-time RBI title holder, and he was the stolen base title holder 6 times. Walter Johnson won, and I know that Walter Johnson pitched for a super sucky team, and he was an outstanding pitcher. But they finally won a championship. He won the Triple Crown 3 times. Strikeout title 5 times, wins title 4 times, ERA title 5 times. And again, he wasn't compiling. These guys did not compile the way they compile in 2021 and the way they've been compiling since Hank Aaron. Christy Mathewson, World Series champion, Triple Crown twice, strikeout title 5 times, wins title 4, ERA title 5 times. And then obviously we've got Babe Ruth, 7-time World Series champion, batting title once, home run title 12 times, RBI title 6 times, and an ERA title once. And then you've got Honus Wagner, not to be outdone, World Series champion 1 time, batting champion 8 times, RBI title holder 5, stolen base title holder 5 times. And the thing that we need to remember about both Ty Cobb and Honus Wagner is that they also produced batting title holders. Honus Wagner as a coach with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and Ty Cobb as player manager with the Detroit Tigers. This is the standard for the Hall of Fame. Not, oh, but we liked him so much, says his defenders of Derek Jeter. Oh, he had a presence. That's why Derek Jeter got in, because he had a presence. Ooh, got a presence. Okay, well, so did Babe Ruth. And yet, and in addition to a presence, Babe Ruth did all this. Plus, he built the original Yankee Stadium, right? Plus, he saved baseball. Plus, he was loved. 70,000 people paid their respects at Yankee Stadium when Babe Ruth passed away. 70,000 people in 1953 is a big number, given the population size of America, given all the methods that we have for travel, right? Given the limited resources, given the way things were limited compared to 2021, that is a huge number of people who in person paid their respects to Babe Ruth. So Babe Ruth had a presence and all that. So again, and V-Dare, I did my best to read it. And again, I'm not sure we published it on Sunday, but Scott Greer retweeted it Sunday. And so, hold on. I'm not sure when V-Dare published this specific article, but I saw it on Sunday when Scott Greer published it. And so, what's happening with Derek Jeter is Derek Jeter's supposed to be the hero for that demographic that doesn't say, well, they're okay with him garnering his championships with the steroids teams. They're okay with the fact that he was never the best at anything. Different, right? They value mediocrity. They value the fact that he's African. They don't go beyond that. And, that's fine. But that's why the rest of us have to say, oh, that's so cute. We're happy that you're happy. But if you want to sit at the grown-up table, we look at this kind of stuff. I have another chart for you guys. No. So these are all my charts for today. Ah, yes. I knew I uploaded one more chart. So the differences in culture between American baseball and MLB are very present when I talk about the top 20 players in the categories that matter. I repeat, I will not be integrating the Negro League statistics into these statistics. I thankfully had already started gathering this information again from Baseball Almanac. And then when MLB made the announcement about the Negro Leagues, I made sure to shore up this information, and I made it as pretty as possible. Something that you guys should know about me is even though I'm a woman, stuff like interior design, I complete my domestic responsibilities. but I'm not a domestic goddess. I mean, look it. The background is still plain. It's just not my thing. I don't have that touch, that interior design thing that most women or the domestic women have. And it shows in these kinds of things. So they're never going to be super pretty. I've got to get somebody to do that for me, to make them pretty. I'm not like that. And so I color coded them for people to see the differences in the eras. That's going to be super important. So the one I have here is RBIs and home runs, right? So let's talk about that a little bit. You can see that it's bleeding. And it's bleeding because there's so many steroid users who manage to compile several statistics. So honestly, I want to get to the point where I remove the steroid users, starting with Barry Bonds, Alex Rodriguez, Sammy Sosa, McGwire, Palmeiro, Manny Ramirez, David Ortiz, and then compilers like Albert Pujols. I mean, Hank Aaron, the original compiler, I wouldn't mind getting rid of him. And then you've just got a lot of mediocrity, like Ken Griffey Jr., nothing great about him. Reggie Jackson has the honor of being the dude that struck out the most. I almost feel like Jim Thome's job was to try to knock Reggie Jackson out of that spot. Like, I don't think there's anything great about Jim Thome. Just a compiler, and I almost feel like he's got that white guilt thing. And I think what he was doing in his career was compiling statistics, and I think his goal was to knock Reggie Jackson off of the most strikeouts, first place mantle. So I will be talking a lot about these statistics, the top 20 categories. That falls into, so my cross-check test was a result of me looking at the top 20 categories that matter. It was a result of me saying, okay, let's look at championships now. And then you can see that I looked at, okay, what ballot that they get in on, and other stuff like how many seasons they played, because my goal or my self-imposed job is to weed out the compilers, weed out the cheaters, weed out the narratives, weed out the last man standings, and just try to get a pure picture of greatness in American baseball. And I did a really outstanding job. It definitely stopped the Negro League narrative in its tracks, and I'm very proud of that. Obviously, that doesn't stop them from taking one side of the fork in the road and the rest of us taking the other. And again, it's just because, so why would I even think of doing this? First of all, as somebody who grew up being above average, I don't like mediocrity. And I understand that there's people who fall into the other side of the bell curve. And that's through no fault of their own. Everybody's born with a different set of blessings. And it sucks to be blessed with low IQ, but maybe your purpose in life is something else. And maybe it's just being a part of the chorus as opposed to being the solo singer. I mean, we all have to accept things that are lots in life, right? And so as somebody who doesn't do mediocrity. I resent the one thing that allowed me to shut off my brain. Because when I watched baseball, I didn't have to worry about analyzing anything. I didn't have to worry about thinking. I didn't have to worry about calculations and analysis and evaluation. I could shut off my brain for 2.5 hours at a time. I could give it a rest. And I resent that being taken away from me. I resent my brain rest time being taken away from me. And I resent even more having to dig into all this stuff and find all the awful things buried in it. But I'm doing it as a duty to America, to the greatness that came before us, and hopefully carry it over into Mexico and kind of go from there. And I think I didn't finish an earlier thought. Oh, so when I started talking about Yadier Molina, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to tweet it so it's in writing. If you try to tell me, or anybody, or if an MLB Marxist media member tries to justify mediocrity by stating something like, current mediocre MLB player deserves to be inducted into the Hall of Fame because former mediocre MLB player was voted in too, well, I'm going to tell you that not only does the current mediocre player not deserve to get in, the former mediocre MLB player that you did vote in doesn't deserve to be in there either. The standard is the Hall of Fame first five of Ty Cobb, Babe Ruth, Walter Johnson, Christy Mathewson, and Honus Wagner. So save it. And if you guys insist on that, well, that's your prerogative, but we're going to teach the future that we don't play that. We do not respect mediocrity. We have to. We have to teach. We have to talk about it. We have to teach it what true greatness is. We cannot allow the Marxists and the Jews and the commies and the Africans and all that jazz to erase it. It's very important. So I am going to wrap this up. Again, I have to figure out my routine. That's my fault for being late today. But at least for the next 2 weeks, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'll be talking about pieces of this stuff. I'm going to bring in the salary stuff. I will overlay some of the careers of the baseball greats with the baseball mediocre and stuff like that. And then I will continue sharing bits about myself when they're relevant, and I will continue weaving in American history. And then everybody else can do what they will with all of this perspective. Maybe you just need it to as a springboard to do your stuff. And then we can all kind of go from there, right? Separate but together. Separate but together, because we're all doing our own thing. Eventually, it would be wonderful to get together a think tank. And again, this isn't going to be you're earning $1 million a year for this stuff. We've got to make our income as untaxable as possible. We have to, there's going to be bartering. There's going to be exchanging goods and services. There's going to be self-sufficiency. There's going to be a lot of that. So buckle up. Buckle up, because we've got to stop being beholden to others, especially to people that don't even like us, that want us gone, right? They want us dead. So I hope you guys have a good rest of your Monday. I hope you guys have a good rest of your Monday. I look forward to some streams. Keep on Scott Presler, Scott Greer. Let's see how you develop. We'll see how everything unfolds, right? So again, I hope you guys have a wonderful Monday. I will see you back here tomorrow, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, talking about cultural differences between American baseball, how they define greatness in MLB, all that good stuff. So, see you tomorrow.